Good afternoon, YouTube. Well, I regret to inform you there is no cure for your Wi-Fi problems you're having with your Mini M4. However, problems across the board are happening for Intel Mac users running native version of Sequoia right on up to the Apple Silicon machines. We're all having some problems of some sort or another, okay? Now, Intel users, M1, M2, M3 users, your cures? Simple. Go back to Sonoma. I finally went back to Sonoma. All my problems are gone. All of them. Okay? When I first went to Sequoia 15.2 update, I had no problems with my M1. When I went to use a pure or non-updated version of 15.2, all holy hell broke loose on my computer. So then I went back to Sonoma and then re-updated because I was safe before. I should be safe again. Well, cured everything except keyboard and mouse had issues. Okay? Wasn't typing right, slugging down. Mouse sometimes would barely even move. It's almost like playing a video game that's over demanding for the computer. It was a piece of crap. And that was a result of running a pure version of 15.2 and then trying to go backwards again to 15.2 by doing Sonoma to 15.2. But people just going to 15.2 have had issues, period, even from Sonoma. Okay? There's a lot of posts all over the internet on Apple discussion boards and other forums I found. And I did have a guy also get on one of my videos. He's got a M2 Studio. He's having problems since going to Sequoia. Okay? Now, as for your Mac Mini M4, I got the problem narrowed down. Unfortunately, even Apple cannot cure this with a software update. There is no way. It is a hardware issue. It is a warranty thing. Okay? And they're going to have to come good by creating a fix without having to build a whole damn new machine, which still might end up being the end result. Let me explain to you how this thing is put together. So this is the main teardown picture, and you'll see right on here, on this part, that's your bottom plate, okay? So there's a battery there. Apple's never done this before that I've ever seen, okay? Now, I've not been inside a studio, but I've seen enough teardowns that I've never seen a battery there. But there's a battery there nonetheless. Well, underneath that battery, and you remove the rest of that caging, you're going to expose the Wi-Fi Bluetooth card, okay? Which is going to be here, okay? Now, you got 3 antenna leads coming off of here, okay? Now, there's also a connection point that has to come from there to the motherboard, obviously, to make all that thing work. That's what's sitting underneath your battery, okay? Batteries put out an electrical current or electrical charge, and they all need a ground. Everything must come to ground. Even the negative polarity on the battery must go to ground somewhere on the computer. And remember, none of these computers are grounded to your hydro wall either. Okay, it's just 2-prong plugs, right? So there is no actual physical ground, which can be a problem in itself too. However, nonetheless, the battery sits on top of this. That's kind of dumb because it has an electrical discharge, also subject to static electricity, especially with dust that gets in, causes static electricity. Batteries, electricity, dust, they don't tend to get along very well, okay? But dust doesn't get along with any electronic after a while anyhow. So, they stacked it on top. Well, the next stupid thing they did was with the fan, okay? Now, with the fan, there's your fan. So it is underneath all of that. So your fan, the middle of your fan, basically sits in the middle of that plate is where your Wi-Fi is, and up above that is your friggin' battery. This creates an electromagnetic discharge, okay? So it's kind of like, one of the things that I learned was you don't take a long extension cord and coil it up and plug it in, because it causes a magnetism effect, okay? Among other shit that can go wrong. All right, so that's why you stretch it out, okay? So I have a 100-foot cord that comes from my shop to the house where I plug it in. So it's all stretched out, no big deal. But if I coil that up and then I plug it in via even another cord, right, and get to the wall plug, that coil part of that cord, that's a bad thing to do, okay? Now, with this, although the brushless motor is nice and quiet, and even at high speeds, they're very quiet compared to a brushed motor. Now, a brushed motor uses electricity on brushes that go to a piece on the motor. I believe they call it a stator or something. Anyways, I can't remember all the technical terms and crap, but you get the idea. All right, the brushes touch the motor physically on the post, and that generates the electricity needed. And of course, that motor also has some magnetism to it as well. But these tend to be noisier, and they tend to wear, because as the brushes wear, they will get closer and closer, because they have to, because they're wearing out. And eventually, they'll wear to a certain point where it creates too much of a gap, which arcs. Or they'll just get so worn that things will just short out, okay? And that's never a good thing, because brushed motors, when they short, they smoke, they catch fire, okay? Now, a brushless motor, the worst possible things that happens to a brushless motor is the bearings wear out, you smoke the bearings, and the motor stops moving, okay? So generally, we don't have a fire issue here. We just replaced the blown out bearings. Went through it in my RC hobby. We used brush motors, we lit them on fire, smoked them really bad, okay? Whenever we basically more or less killed a brushless motor, we just replaced the bearings with new bearings, and we were back up and running, as long as we didn't cause any other extensive damage, because those things run on some very high amperage, okay? So in this case, you have a low voltage, low amperage motor that's brushless, okay? So there's nothing touching that motor at all. So the main motor unit, it's electromagnetic current that's charged magnets that charge against the other magnets on the middle of the post of the motor, and they propel. And as the computer heats up and the fan rises in speed, it uses more energy, more amperage, and okay, you get the idea? Until you're at the point where you're going, okay? Now, these brushless motors can last for years, okay, which is nice. They go way longer mileage than a brush motor, but they're electromagnetic, and therefore they put out electromagnetism as a result, okay, into the atmosphere, or in this case, right into your damn Wi-Fi card. Now, then you got the battery on top of that whole thing too, so everything's already compressing signals as it is. So, in one side of the fence, you're not actually getting the full potential of the card, but you're still getting damn good speeds. I mean, you're pushing 300-400 megabits per second. You're doing pretty damn good for yourself. That's really good speeds. So that part isn't where the problem kicks in. It's when you put devices near the computer, or you set the computer on something that's a metal thing. And you can make things worse by other movements that you do, and different things you set the computer on for different materials can also affect the Wi-Fi signal, because things are getting compressed and restricting the Wi-Fi from getting out to where it needs to go. And a lot of this compression is mostly because of the motor and in the fan, as well as that battery being on stack, and the fact there's no protection around the actual Wi-Fi itself. This is not in an encapsulated protection unit of any sort, okay? And why the hell they need to attach the antenna leads to the dish is beyond me, okay? So this is kind of one of those interesting little builds that I think has gone bad. Now, if you look inside of an M1, for example, I have an M1, you'll notice that your motor is here for your fan, like your whole fan is here. Then you have a protection shroud or a duct, okay? So that it expels the hot air out of the computer, okay? So it draws in from the bottom and it pushes it out there, okay? creating better cooling. Something we wish we could all have in our laptops, but we won't until Apple smartens up. Now, we also have the battery location is over here on the board itself. Now, they did have room on the board on the M4 Mini where they could have actually put the battery. Just enough space and better exposed, but they didn't. They stacked it on top of the damn Wi-Fi card, causing more problems than what it's worth. So, but your Wi-Fi is over here on the plate. Now, I got a picture of that for you. Now, I double-checked mine to make sure that I was correct on this, and I am. This back solid part, that covers over top of your fan. Okay? So, your exhaust porting is here. Your battery is over here. This is to the back of the computer. Your Wi-Fi is to the back of the computer over top of that duct. The distance between your Wi-Fi Bluetooth to the fan is more than enough distance. There's no way in hell it can compress any signals. It can't screw them up whatsoever. It's a weak field, and just gaining that distance negates it. There won't be any interference. And the battery, being where it is, also in a perfect location. Okay? Battery is not on, and it's not very near to the Wi-Fi, and it's not touching it in any way, shape, or form either. So even the ground from the battery is not an issue, nor is the positive side going to be an issue. So I took my back cover off, and that's how I found out that my Wi-Fi is indeed here. It's at the back of the computer over top the duct, the exhaust duct. And this is at the front of the computer, and of course where the battery actually sits, okay? This was ideal. This was a perfect thing. And I don't know of anybody that's ever had a squashed or compressed Wi-Fi signal by putting devices near, on top of, or underneath the Mini. In fact, I have 2 Thunderbolt drives sitting on top of my Mini, and I have no Wi-Fi interference. I've even unplugged them and not even used them. I've done retesting after retesting of all kinds of scenarios, and there is no issue with the Mini, okay, with the M1, which means the M2 also won't have any problems. And probably the same thing is going to go for your studios, because I don't know of anybody that ever complained about problems with the studio with Wi-Fi, okay, or even Bluetooth. So this is a perfect design. Apple could have easily put the M4 into this same case, but they wanted to think different, and they certainly did. They thought different, and they screwed up royally. And as far as I'm concerned, what is going on is a valid claim for a warranty. Even if you are not having Wi-Fi issues, and if you're not, it's because you're not using external devices, okay? Because everybody that's using external devices I've seen all over YouTube are getting issues, okay? Whether that's sitting on a hub or having the hub with the elevator, it's causing problems, plugged in or not. Now, that's the one thing I can't get, is not being plugged in. How is it causing a problem? Well, then I started to think about this. Well, there's still a containment unit here called your drive. Now, to give you a little idea, see if I can get this apart without it coming off this time. This is one of my Thunderbolt drives that I don't use right now. So there's a daughter board in here, but you'll notice there's no kind of shielding, okay, of any kind. There doesn't need to be. It's a friggin' drive, okay? Now, the drive itself has no shielding. This has no shielding, but it does ground out to the computer, okay? So, but there is no ground for the computer to your wall socket, because these are 2-prong plugs. Now, you should be able to put this beside your computer and not have any problems with Wi-Fi or even Bluetooth for that matter. And people are getting Bluetooth issues too, not just Wi-Fi. All kinds of hell is breaking loose on these damn things. It's like, holy crap. But when I started to look at the teardowns between the M1, which has no problems, and the M4 that is, now I know what's causing the problems. And it is not something that Apple can fix with a simple software update, okay? They might be able to do something for any Bluetooth issues because, well, for me at least, when I went back to pure Sonoma only, okay. Now, as far as the version of Sonoma that I have on here, I'm running 14.7.2. My computer is now finally 100% stable again. Everything is glitch hiccup free. No issues with keyboard, mouse, or anything. So I'm not going anywhere near 15.2 again, even as an update, because when I went from the pure OS, which completely screwed my system up, and went back to Sonoma with the update, that's when I got screwed over. Had I left things alone as just a upgraded Sonoma to the 15.2 when I didn't have problems, I would have been fine. But Kevy just wanted to go back to an external 1 terabyte, and that's when everything went to hell on me. And then when I undid it, went back to my internal and did my Sonoma to 15.2, I still had problems, mainly Bluetooth now. Okay, my wife has some Bluetooth issues with her earbuds that she's noticed. Now, she went from Sonoma to Sequoia 15.2, but that's the only issue. She has no keyboard or mouse issues, right? And her keyboard is the MX Master Keys Mac version. Mine's the MX Keys PC Mac version. And then, of course, my mouse is the Logic Pro's MX Master. She has a cheap Microsoft Bluetooth mouse that I gave her, because she was just using USB-A keyboard and mouse, and it's like, honey, you're running out of ports here, okay? Like, how about we move you into a better keyboard? So I bought her this originally, but then I'm the one with a Mac and a PC, so I need dual keys, so I just gave her my other one. And then I gave her a Bluetooth mouse, and she's been happy ever since. And she has no issues with her keyboard and mouse. She only has an issue when she gets, like, either sitting in front of the computer or 10 feet away, her earbuds screw up on her. Now, that could be a 15.2 thing, or it could be maybe her earbuds are finally dying. Who the hell knows? But she does have that cutting in and out, which does not take place on her phone or her iPad. So that's where we can actually blame the OS in this case. And she has the exact same mini as mine. Same configuration too, 16 by 512. Anyway, so unfortunately, the only way to fix Wi-Fi problems with the current M4 Mini is Apple needs to fix it somehow, which means some kind of a coding or something that is going to prevent the problems we're seeing. Okay, those who do not have any problems with their Wi-Fi, well, you're not using external devices, and you're not using hub stands or hubs, obviously, that your Mini is sitting on top of or underneath of. So that's why you're not experiencing it. Or maybe you have all that crap and you're not experiencing it because you're not using Wi-Fi. You're using Ethernet, because Ethernet is technically better than Wi-Fi, right? So, but most of us are using all Wi-Fi, and when we stick devices nearby, that's when all hell breaks loose. Now, I don't have an M4 Mini, and given the problems and how long it's going to take for Apple to even fix these problems, there's no way in hell I'm buying an M4 Mini. I'm looking now to find out how many nightmares there are in the MacBook Pro, but I'm looking at the M4 Pro chip, not the regular M4. I would not give you a red cent nickel for the base chip, because even when I was going for the Mini, originally I was going to go Mini Pro because it has a 10 core worth of performance cores and 4 efficiencies, and then, or no, how'd that work? Yeah, 10 performance, 4 efficiency, or I could go 8 performance, 4 efficiency because of the configuration differences. I was going to go for the top level, so I get 10 performance cores, 4 efficiency. Because the 10 core chips in the M4 Mini or laptop, in that base chip, it's only 4 performance and 6 efficiency. It's a piece of garbage in my books. I wouldn't give you a nickel for either one. So, anyways, that's what I've got for you. Take it for what you will, but there is no actual software cure to fix the Wi-Fi problem or any other problems you may be having, including maybe Bluetooth. And definitely there is a hardware fix, but that's up to Apple to figure it out and then fix your computer for you, and it is a warranty issue. They screwed this up. In fact, their engineers screwed it up, and the people who should have double-checked everything, what the engineers designed, should have slapped the engineers in the friggin' head for doing something stupid, because they would have known that this was going to cause a problem, okay? it's not that hard to figure out, okay? Even I could have figured that out myself. So, you know, we don't do this, guys. We're going to have to do this, or we got to protect this somehow. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Best of luck for your endeavors with your M4 Mini. Hopefully Apple fixes it, but it's going to have to be something they're going to have to also allow a warranty repair on, because this is definitely not acceptable for releasing a product, and it is not a software glitch that is doing this to your computer. That even I can verify. So unfortunately, you probably can't run Sonoma on M4, but give it a try. You never know. It came with Sequoia, but maybe you can try and see if Sonoma will work. And if it does, it does. If it doesn't, well, oh well. You're kind of screwed until Apple deals with it. So the other way around this, turn in your Mini, sell it back to Apple, and tell them you want a full refund regardless of how long you've had it for, because this is their fault. They need to come good for it. And you have the right as a consumer to have this dealt with properly. So, see ya.